G23, G17, G17L. Look at that absolute monster. Okay, one of the things I want to say is I know that obviously people are probably waiting on the TM High Kappa 4.3 shooting test. That is upcoming, I can assure you of that. At the moment, obviously, we've got this storm. We had Valentine's Day at the weekend. Well, I did because I was working all of Monday, so essentially me and the missus had Valentine's Day on Sunday. The weather was terrible anyway. We had like 35-40 mile/hour winds, which was useless for doing any sort of meaningful testing. So essentially, I've put that off. Hopefully that will be this Sunday. So essentially, I've just recorded this video quick to get something out, say hello, I'm still here, and keep the upload schedule going a bit, and have a look at this very interesting weapon. So without further ado, let's get on with the video. Hello there folks, my name's Ben and welcome to another Shots Fired Airsoft video. Now, on the table today we have something that I've wanted for quite some time. They are quite rare, to the point that, say, Tokyo Mirai doesn't even make a G17L. Well, I tell a lie, they do actually make a spring pistol version, but not a full-blown gas blowback like this. There have been some in the past, however this is a double bell G17L, and they're one of the few people that actually make one these days. I believe this is a new version. I ordered it from 6mm Airsoft, which I believe is the rebadged Asia Airsoft. To have it turn up in a random nondescript box, so there's no unboxing of this essentially. This is just like a first look video. As a double barrel, pretty much the only people who make one of these nowadays. You can buy them in the UK, oddly enough, from BB Guns for Less. They're about the only people that have stock of them. And the standard version like this is actually around about 90 quid. I think I paid about $85, I think about 85 quid total shipped for this. The only version that BB Guns for Less have got in at the moment is around 130 quid, which is a bit ridiculous in terms of money. However, this is the newer version. As I said, this is the EU17, so it is markingless. So the older versions came with the usual Glock marks on the slide and the frame, and they were only out for a short while and then they seemed to disappear, and I think that might have been because Glock threw its global shit fit over trademarks and not being paid for such. So this is sort of like the rebirth of the G17L. And I can't tell you that even though this came in a random nondescript box all the way from Asia and is essentially, well, for the channel it's a bit of not having a box and all that sort of stuff, I'm so glad and happy to have one of these because this is my favourite Glock. It is the Mac Daddy. You know as well as that I'm a huge fan of large hand cannons, and that is my WE-70 7-inch, which is my favourite pistol and the one that I tend to use at CQB the most when I'm not testing other weapons. I'm quite excited to get into this, and we're going to weigh various parts of this versus the G17 and the G17, sorry, the G23, and I'm going to give you sort of like a look around its features. There's not too much to this though, it's just a big G17 with an extreme long barrel, which we will have a look at. So without that, any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I have a confession to make. I've left the magazine for this at Airsoft. It's on a bench up there. Hopefully no one licks it. It should be there when I go back. However, essentially it comes with, this is one of my G17 Army Armament mags, a mag that looks exactly like this. This gun is based on the TM gas system, or is a copy of the TM gas system, and as such the magazine has the curved router rather than the flat WE style router. However, this will work with WE mags, and indeed it takes this Army Armament mag just fine and locks back and all the other good stuff. The only thing I will say on the subject of magazines is that the double bell does not come with a hole in the base plate for the inlet valve, or for you to reach the inlet valve, and relies on you actually being have something on you to get in there to push the button down to get the base plate off so that you can get to the inlet valve. This is not ideal. However, any WE, Army Armament, Tokyo Mirai, Glock magazines are going to work in this. So it's not the end of the world for someone who is an airsoft enthusiast. You've probably got magazines that are going to work in this. The other thing is, it's not necessarily a bad thing not having a hole for the inlet valve in the base plate, because obviously if you drop it in a muddy field, it stops the inlet valve from getting gummed up with crap. However, guns that tend to have blocked off inlet valves tend to also have a very exposed button that you can press with your finger to allow you to slide the base plate off, whereas that actually requires you to have a tool or something you can poke it with to actually get in there and do it. So that said, I say the mags, essentially basic green gas Glock magazine, God, that's a mouthful, is all you need. So let's get into a few of the finer points of this pistol. What we have is essentially I believe it's a Gen 2 frame, I could be wrong on that. However, this is a Gen 3, and as you can see, it has far more pronounced grip, sort of, I don't know what they're called. Call them nodules, grip nodules on the front of the grip, and quite a sculpted backplate. Whereas this, it has the sculpted backplate, but those nodules on the front are nowhere near as pronounced. Now, that could be something to do with just the way the frame is moulded, and this is just a slightly different looking G3 frame. However, say if you look at the bottom, I mean, yes, mine has, the R17 has got a flared magwell on it, but underneath the grip is actually quite a different shape. So whether that's down to just the way that the double barrel is moulded, and it is supposed to be a Gen 3, or the G17 from Army Armament is incorrect, sorry, the R17, that's entirely up for conjecture. Aside from that, we have an extra sort of thumb rest on the back of this, and that is what that's for. So essentially it's ambidextrous. You can have your left hand, your thumb on the right hand side, or your thumb on the left hand side. The trigger on this is a standard Glock trigger, so you actually have the little safety inside it. However, this trigger to me feels very graunchy. I don't think it quite works properly, so I'm going to take it apart at some point and go through and make sure it's okay, because this works without pulling or pressing the little safety inside there. It could be that it isn't supposed to work, but it strikes me as odd that it wouldn't. One thing I will say though is that this has quite a short trigger pull for a G17 style weapon. The triggers on Glocks are always known for being a bit weird, and this one's probably one of the better ones. We've got non-ambidextrous mag release, which is not extended, so essentially it's a standard Glock magazine release. We have the standard underframe safety, and the frame itself is pretty much standard G series or EU series. It's not extended or anything. It's not a specialist frame. Indeed, if I pop this back and release, oops, sorry, hit the camera there, and take the frame off my little R17, I believe I should be able, yes, to literally put the standard frame, sorry, the standard slide onto the frame. So if I take one of the mags, it does indeed lock back. Oh, but interesting enough, it doesn't fire. Okay, so it is slightly different from the R17, but yes, the slides essentially do fit. Oh no, it does, it's just, yeah. That's weird. So it works fine until you put the mag in, and then it doesn't allow the trigger to release. So that's a bit odd. So there are differences. Obviously it's two different brands, so I'm not necessarily expecting it to work. However, it does actually work, slide, lock back, and all that sort of jazz. There's just something funky going on with the trigger. So I'll put that back over there for a minute. To get back to the slide itself, it is a full metal slide. And that is one of the issues with it. We have a metal outer barrel as well. It is threaded. This is 12mm counterclockwise, this thread. So unfortunately I have a 12mm clockwise adapter for my WE 7-inch, which is the standard sort of large WE handgun size. My R17 has a WE metal outer barrel in it, and that's an 11mm thread, as most of their Glocks and smaller handguns are. This is a 12mm. Slide itself, not particularly fantastically made. It does have a nice port in the top, it's not just a solid slide. However, as you'll see in a minute when I weigh it, this is a heavy slide. In fact, the slide of this weighs just about as much, or very nearly to, the entire weight of this without the magazine in. So getting along with that. Inside you've got a slightly weird setup where you don't actually have a guide rod that goes all the way through the front, so it's not that you end up with 6 inches of guide rod stuck out the front of the weapon. If I pop it out, there is a collar that sits at the front of the sort of guide plug section of the frame. Sorry, the slide. I'm getting the frame and the slide mixed up. And in there we have this that allows the flat to sit against the barrel and holds the guide rod assembly steady. We have a very sort of normal looking guide rod assembly for an EU or G17. So I think that's interchangeable with a normal G17. And then in here we have an enormous barrel assembly. And the interesting thing about this is it's a 2-piece barrel. So this rear section, this cap and everything, is actually plastic, I think. Let me bite it. Oh no, it's just oddly coloured metal. And then this front section will unscrew, like so. And in there, all the way to the end, is your enormous inner barrel. As you can see hiding in there. If I just pull the barrel out of the R17 a moment, you can see the difference in overall length. It is a vast difference. It's actually more than the slide would let on. So that is why I like the G17L. It has a tremendously long barrel. It gets power that the shorter ones just can't muster. And that length of the barrel does help your accuracy. As much as people say that the barrel length and that doesn't really matter in airsoft, I can assure you it does. And the difference between the 17L and the 17 is huge. Right, so if I just try and pop this out, again, there's a nice long brass inner barrel. We have a very TM looking G17 style pop-up chamber. Nice wide arm on it. There's nothing particularly special about these out of the box. I have been told by someone who owns one of these that it fires very well for a standard pistol, although he has since modified his quite heavily because he is IPSC shooting in airsoft, and he loves large powerful handguns that are very accurate, and he loves this one, even though it is, you know, a double barrel, which is probably one of the lesser known or thought of brands when it comes to things like this. Just pop that back in. The issue that I can see with this one is the blowback spring is not especially great. This is behaving itself a lot better than it was a while ago. When it came, it was very dry. I've been in there, taken the blowback unit out, and I've lubed the lubed all inside it, around it, and I've been running it, and now it does actually pull out and return. However, there is no real urgency to that, so it would benefit, as 99% of stock guns, from an upgraded nozzle spring. Apart from that, not really anything to see here. I believe it is mostly TM compatible, and like I say, I have wanted one of these for a while, and I've pretty much bought it for the slide. I'm probably going to throw the majority of the gun kind of away. So just to show you how that goes, in like that, with the inner facing in, it kind of sits in position, and then your guide rod goes in, and then that's it, back together. Whilst we've got it apart, I'm going to get the slides from the various G17 and G23s that I've got here, and we're going to have a little look at precisely what the difference is in weight between the three, and precisely why the G17 slide unfortunately is not going to get it done in terms of cold weather performance. Okay, so I'm back. The first one I'm going to start off with is the slide from the G23. This is a plastic slide. and this is a KJ Works weapon. We will be looking at this in the future video because it's quite an impressive little piece of kit. And that slide comes in at 152 grams. Now, interesting point to note, this is a plastic slide, plastic outer barrel with metal internals. Pretty much what you'd expect out of something like a TM. KJ Works follow that. You can get metal versions of these pistols. They don't particularly fire much better, and it's kind of up to interpretation whether you like the plastic or the metal slides. Quite often you'll get a metal slide and it has tons of holes cut in it just to try and get it back to the weight of the plastic one that you've just thrown in the bin. This is the R17 slide. It is also plastic, faintly longer than the G23, although the main difference in the G23 is in the grip and the frame. The main difference with this is this has a WE metal outer barrel in it, so it is going to be heavier. But that is 193 grams, not a bad effort for something that's got a metal outer barrel in it. And then we're going to look at the monstrous G17 slide, and that is 296 grams. So it's over 100 grams heavier than the plastic G17 slide. So this is not going to work for you in cold weather. You're probably going to want to run red gas in it for a start, because, well, I'll show you in a minute when I get it going. It's not warm in the van at the moment. It's probably about, I don't know, maybe like 10 degrees. I haven't got any heating on. I've just got lots of hoodies on. And if I try and gas it and fire it, well, I'll do that in a second, and you'll see what I mean. Okay, so here we are. I've just gassed up one of my Army Armament R17 mags, and I'm now going to show you what this pistol functions like in the relatively cold weather on green gas. We'll probably get a few lockbacks. I'm just going to keep my finger on the trigger. It has a really big kick. I say that's a big heavy slide backwards and forwards. It's quite poppy. We've got a lockback, 3 more shots, another lockback. That's probably about 15 shots. We failed to lock back, and that's it, we gassed out. So just to give you a sort of a general idea of what that usually functions like, if I just put my Army Armament G17 back together, a little bit of gas. This is probably like a half gas fill. Oh, we just missed one there. If I hold on for a sec. There you go. Yeah, so that will pretty much go indefinitely. Obviously, I say it's cold at the moment. If you keep using that mag, it will just get colder and colder. But if I pop that back in here, gas out immediately. And it does that with the mag that came with it as well. It's not just because I'm using a different mag that doesn't work with a gun. So this will run on TM mags and all that sort of stuff. So, you know what, I'm going to get rid of this now. It's no longer new. So, yeah, I'm quite excited to get shooting with this. I'm going to have to get me some red gas to get this to cycle decently. It had an issue out the box where it had a very sticky nozzle. As I say, it was very dry. It almost felt like the piston head had actually swollen inside the blowback nozzle. And they actually sent a spare nozzle with it. So I don't know if they're known for breaking them, or whether it was one of those, oh, this doesn't look very good, we'll just send an extra nozzle just in case the nozzle's wrong or clearance improperly, or maybe it's just a bad production run. However, I've had both of these nozzles in here and it made no difference at all. What actually made the difference was taking it all apart, getting everything out, lubing up the piston head nicely, and then running it a few times, and it now returns every time. So, I mean, as you can see there, it's already back in the housing, back in the housing, back in the housing. You know, so it does come back every time now, so it would feed properly if it would cycle more than 5 shots. So anyway, that's been a little overlook or overview of the double barrel G17L. Like I said, I'm not especially fussed. I don't care whether you buy this or not. I don't recommend it. I've always just wanted the G17L, and the worst thing that's going to happen to this is it will get funneled into my collection or be a wall hanger. I just thought it was really cool. I am going to do a shooting test on it, purely because I kind of want to see how that long barrel does. I've been told these fire really well, and the hop-up works very well in them, which would be a fairly new thing for sort of like a TM copy, because the main issue you get with a lot of the TM copies is obviously a lot of the TM gold dust or magic fairy pixie dust is in the hop-up chamber, and when companies copy them badly, you end up with a bad weapon, because there's nothing that special about a TM apart from its hop-up and barrel assembly, and the fact that everything's clearanced nicely so it actually works properly. But aside from that, I've waffled enough. I've been Ben, it's been a Shots Fired Airsoft video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Goodbye.